everyone! Welcome back to integralcalc.com. Today we're going to be sketching circles, and the equation of the circle that we're going to be sketching is 2x squared plus 2y squared plus 2x minus 2y equals 1. And what we're going to do is transform the equation of our circle into the form given in our formula here. And then from this formula, we're going to pull out two pieces of information. One is the coordinates of the center of our circle, which are x sub 1, y sub 1. And the second piece of information is the radius, which we're going to get from right here. So in order to transform our equation into the equation given in this formula, we're going to first need to divide through the entire equation by 2. And the reason, when we do that, we'll get x squared plus y squared plus x minus y equals 1/2 if we just divide every term by 2. The reason is because we need the coefficient of both our x squared term and our y squared term to be 1. And right now the coefficient is 2. So in order to get rid of it, we have to divide everything by 2. Now we've got a coefficient of 1 in front of both x squared and y squared, so we're good to go. So now that we've done that, we need to group our x terms and our y terms together. And by group them, I mean just reorganize the terms, reorder the terms so that they are next to each other, not performing any kind of operation on the terms, just moving them together. So you can see we moved x squared and x together, put them in parentheses to distinguish that they're a group, put y squared and negative y together and put them in parentheses to set them apart as a group. And the other thing you want to do is if you've got any constants on the left-hand side of your equation, you want to move all of them to the right-hand side. So we have nothing besides our x terms and our y terms. All of our constants are over here on our right-hand side. So now that we've done that, we're going to need to complete the square with respect to both x and y. I've got a whole section about completing the square on my website, but basically all we do is we take the coefficient on our first degree x and y terms, which are right here. The second degree terms are x squared and y squared. The first degree terms are x and negative y. So we take the coefficient, which in the case of x here is just 1, right? The coefficient there is 1. So we take that coefficient, we divide it by 2. This is just a standard method for completing the square. You divide that coefficient by 2, and we get an answer, obviously, of 1/2. Then you take that answer and you square it. So when we square 1/2, we get 1/4. So let's just leave that alone for a second and do the same thing with y. The coefficient on y is a -1, right? Because we've got a minus y, so it's a -1. This was a +1. So we take -1, we divide it by 2. Obviously our answer is -1/2. We square our answer, and -1/2 squared gives us still a +1/4. So this number here is what we're going to add to our x terms to complete the square with respect to x. And this number is the constant that we're going to add to our y terms to complete the square with respect to y. So we'll say x squared plus x plus 1/4, and then, which we got from right here, and then y squared minus y plus 1/4, which comes from right here. But then in order to balance our equations, since we added 1/4 and then 1/4 again to the left-hand side of our equation, we now have to add 1/4 and then 1/4 again to the right-hand side. So there we go. We've added 1/4 and 1/4 to the right-hand side. So now that we've done that, we need to factor our x and y terms. So if we factor x squared plus x plus 1/4, we'll get x plus 1/2 times x plus 1/2. if we factor our y terms, we'll get y minus 1/2 times y minus 1/2. And if we simplify the right-hand side, 1/2 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, we'll just get 1. That's what those simplify to. So we can get rid of this. And now notice that both of these are perfect squares. That's the whole point of completing the square, that you're going to get the same factor that's just going to be repeated, x plus 1/2 and x plus 1/2, y minus 1/2 and y minus 1/2. They're identical. So we can rewrite this as x plus 1/2, or the quantity x plus 1/2 squared, and we can rewrite our y terms as the quantity y minus 1/2 squared. And now our equation is in the exact same form as our formula. We can therefore grab the coordinates of the center of the circle and the radius from our equation as is. So the center we know to be x sub 1, y sub 1. So our center is going to be at negative 1/2, positive 1/2. And the reason is because it's extremely important to remember that in our formula, we've got negatives right here, right? It's x minus x sub 1 and y minus y sub 1. So in the case of y down here, we've got y minus 1/2. So we can just grab the 1/2, right? Because we've got y minus something here and y minus something here. So we only need to grab y sub 1. We grab y sub 1 here and we get 1/2, and that's why we put 1/2 right here. But for the x's, we've got x minus in our formula. Down here in our equation, we've got x plus, which means we need to put a negative sign in front of our x sub 1 coordinate. So instead of just grabbing the 1/2 right here, we have to transform it into negative 1/2 in order to match our formula. So that's how we get the center of our circle. And then as for the radius, notice that right here in our formula, we've got the radius squared on the right-hand side, which means that we need to take the square root of our right-hand side. So the square root of 1 will just get 1. So we say that our center, our radius is equal to 1. So given those two pieces of information, we can now go ahead and sketch our circle. So we'll just draw our coordinate axes, and let's see, our center is at negative 1/2, positive 1/2. So let's call this increments of 1/2. We're going to go negative 1/2 on the x-axis, positive 1/2 on the y-axis. That is the center of our circle. But then our radius is going to be 1. So since each increment is 1/2, here's going to be the right-hand boundary of our circle. We're going to move out 2 increments in every direction. 1, 2. So our circle is going to look something like this. If we try to do a good job sketching, which I won't, but that's what our circle is going to look like, with its center at negative 1/2, positive 1/2. So in order to give a technical answer, we would not only draw the circle, but then underneath we would write that the center is at negative 1/2, positive 1/2, and that the radius is equal to 1. And that would be sufficient. So that's it. That's your final answer. I hope that video helped you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!